You bought a house with my money. That sentence kept repeating in my mind the day I found out. Not shouted, not spoken aloud. Just echoing quietly while I stood in my kitchen, holding a cup of tea that had gone cold in my hands. I am 72 years old. My hands shake sometimes, my knees ache on stairs, and people often speak to me slowly, as if age has dulled my understanding. What they don't realize is that time sharpens some things. Memory, instinct, truth. I raised my son alone after his father died, worked double shifts, skipped meals so he wouldn't. I saved every spare dollar not for luxury, but for security, for his future. I believed money given in love would be honored with respect. That was my first mistake. He came to me one evening with that familiar soft voice, the one he used when he wanted something. "Mom, I've found a great opportunity," he said. "Just a short-term loan. I'll pay you back. I promise." I didn't even ask many questions. Mothers like me rarely do. I transferred the money the next morning. My savings. The nest egg I had built brick by brick over decades. Weeks passed. Then months. No repayment. Only excuses. Then one afternoon, by accident, I saw the photographs online. A new house. Fresh paint. A wide porch. Smiling faces. His wife standing proudly at the door. Her mother beside her. Arms crossed like she already owned the place. The caption read, "New beginnings." My chest tightened. I called him immediately. "That house," I said carefully. "Is that what you used my money for?" There was a pause, too long. "Well, yes," he admitted. "But it's an investment. My wife and her mother are going to live there." I felt something inside me crack. Not loudly, but deeply. "So," I said slowly, choosing each word, "you bought a house with my money, and your wife and mother-in-law are living in it?" He sighed, irritated now. "Mom, don't make a big deal out of this. You're old. You don't need the money like we do." Old. That word landed harder than the betrayal. I hung up without another word. Not because I had nothing to say, but because I suddenly had too much. That night, I sat alone at my dining table, documents spread before me. Bank records, messages, promises typed casually and forgotten just as easily. I realized something painful and powerful at the same time. They thought my kindness meant weakness. They thought my age meant confusion. They thought I would stay quiet. They were wrong. I didn't sleep much that night, not because I was afraid, but because my mind was clear in a way it hadn't been for years. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger wastes energy. I was focused. By morning, I had made a decision that would change everything, for them and for me, and this time, I would not ask for what was mine. I would take it back. I didn't confront them right away. People think silence means surrender, but sometimes it means preparation. The next few days, I went about my routine as usual. I watered my plants. I folded laundry. I smiled at neighbors. No one would have guessed that behind my calm face. I was counting dates, rereading messages, and replaying conversations word by word. At my age, you learn that emotions can blur judgment. I refused to let hurt make me careless. I went to the bank first, sat across from a young manager who kept calling me ma'am in a voice too gentle to be sincere. I showed him the transfer records. The amount, the date, the purpose written clearly in my son's own words. Loan, to be returned. His expression shifted. Then I went to a lawyer, not an expensive one, a patient one, the kind who listens more than he speaks. I laid everything out. My savings, the promises, the house. "Whose name is the property in?" he asked. I already knew the answer. My son's wife, her mother listed as a permanent resident. Nothing in my son's name, nothing in mine. The lawyer leaned back slowly. "They were very careful," he said. I smiled faintly. They thought so. What they hadn't counted on was the paper trail. The texts, the voice messages, the witnesses, the way my son had described the money again and again as a loan, not a gift. Never a gift. Intent matters. The lawyer explained my options. I listened without interrupting. When he finished, I nodded once. "Do it," I said. That evening, my son finally called. His tone was casual, almost cheerful. "Mom, why did you go to the bank asking questions?" So he already knew. "I wanted clarity," I replied. He laughed. "You're worrying too much. We'll sort it out later." "Later," I repeated softly. 2 days later, legal notices were delivered. Not to him, but to the house. I imagined the moment they opened the envelope. The confusion, the disbelief, the sudden understanding that something they thought was secure was no longer untouchable, My phone rang nonstop after that. Calls, messages, voicemails. I didn't answer. When I finally did, his voice was sharp with panic. "Mom, what did you do?" I protected myself, I said. "You're embarrassing us," he snapped. "My wife is furious. Her mother is saying you're trying to destroy the family." I closed my eyes briefly. "You destroyed this family the moment you forgot who paid for that house." Silence on the line, then anger, accusations, guilt. "How could you do this to your own son?" he demanded. I breathed in slowly. "How could you do it to your own mother?" That night I sat alone again, but this time I wasn't shaking. I felt steady, stronger than I had in years. For the first time they were afraid, and for the first time I knew something they didn't. This was no longer about money. It was about respect, and I was done begging for it. The day of the hearing arrived quietly, but I felt a storm inside me. I walked into the courtroom slowly, letting each step remind me of all the years I had endured, working, sacrificing, and believing that love sometimes required silence. She was there, of course, my son's wife, with her mother behind her, both dressed in carefully chosen outfits, meant to convey control, confidence, and entitlement. They smiled politely at the judge and the cameras, pretending everything was theirs. The house, the money, the power. I let them have their moment. It didn't bother me. I had something stronger than bravado. I had proof. I had patience. I had a life built on truth, not pretense. When the judge called the case, her lawyer immediately began outlining their side. Claims of generosity, supposed gifts, and the notion that the money was theirs to use. I listened quietly, nodding at nothing, letting them speak themselves into a corner. Lies unravel faster when the teller is given the stage. Then it was my turn. I stood, hand steady, voice clear. "Your Honor," I said, "the money used to purchase that property was never a gift. It was a loan, documented in messages, bank statements, and signed agreements. The intent was always for repayment." I handed over the folder containing every piece of evidence I had collected. Every transfer, every promise, every recorded message. My lawyer added the notarized documents I had kept hidden, the evidence of manipulation, and the dates proving intent long before the house changed hands. The courtroom fell into a hush. Even the judge's pen paused mid-note. Her eyes widened. She hadn't expected me to come prepared, not at 72. She hadn't accounted for the fact that I had spent decades learning how to protect myself quietly, without shouting or demanding attention. For the first time, she looked uncertain. For the first time, her carefully constructed world wavered. The judge reviewed the documents meticulously, asking questions that exposed inconsistencies in her story. He examined the timeline, the transfers, the notarizations, and finally, the real will that clearly named me as a rightful beneficiary and set the terms of repayment. And in that moment, I felt a quiet victory that no one could take from me. Not her, not my son, not even the memories of betrayal. Her lawyer faltered. "Objection," he said weakly. But the judge was unshaken. "This court recognizes the validity of the evidence presented," he declared. "The property will be held until the obligations to the rightful owner are settled. Any further transfers made under false pretenses are null and void." I exhaled, slowly, calmly. Outside, reporters swarmed, expecting drama, anger, or tears. I smiled gently instead, letting the truth speak louder than any performance could. The house, the money, the legacy, they were no longer under threat. But more importantly, my voice had been heard. My strength had been recognized. My life, my choices, my patience, it all mattered. Weeks later, when the settlement was finalized and the house returned to its rightful position, I sat quietly in the living room. No applause, no acknowledgement from the world, only the steady, comforting silence of a life reclaimed. I thought about what this meant for the future. My son, perhaps, would understand one day the cost of entitlement and the value of respect. His wife and mother-in-law, too, would remember that nothing taken by force or deceit lasts. And me? I had learned that strength isn't measured by youth or loud confrontation. It's measured by endurance, by preparation, by the ability to wait silently until the right moment arrives. She had thought she had taken everything. What she didn't know was that some things, dignity, patience, wisdom, and truth, can never be stolen. And that, in the end, was the real victory.